Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Fluctus Channel. Modern warships survive drone attacks by building defense in layers, starting with the sky above the ship and ending only at the waterline. The first danger is the aerial threat itself. Small drones, missiles, loitering munitions, and aircraft approaching fast over open water where there is little cover and very little reaction time. That is why naval air defense is designed around rapid detection, rapid fire control, and overlapping weapons rather than a single miracle system. A warship has to be ready to spot, classify, track, engage, and if necessary, re-engage targets in a matter of seconds. This is because at sea, a successful drone strike can threaten radars, flight decks, antennas, fuel lines, and exposed personnel all at once. On the open ocean, there is no hiding place or dodging possibilities, only sensors, weapons, and trained crews standing on steel hulls and vulnerable to deadly impacts. At the outer edge of that shield sits the ship's missile systems. On larger combatants, the vertical launch system gives commanders a way to fire anti-air missiles from below deck instead of relying on older trainable launchers. The Mk-41 VLS has launched more than 4,200 missiles with about a 99% launch success rate since program start. And that matters because drone defense is partly a numbers problem. The more flexible the launcher, the faster the ship can respond to changing threats from multiple directions at once. Missiles can reach far beyond gun range, creating the first hard wall against incoming aircraft and unmanned systems before they ever get near the ship. But missile defense at sea cannot stop with long-range intercepts. Some threats leak through, some arrive too quickly, and some appear so suddenly that the last line of defense has to react almost automatically. That is where the Phalanx close-in weapon system becomes so important. In footage of shipboard live fire and system testing, the process looks brutally simple. The mount tracks, slews, and unleashes a torrent of 20mm fire meant to shred incoming threats in the final seconds before impact. CIWS is frightening precisely because it is so close to the ship's skin. If it is firing, the threat is already dangerously near. The control side of CIWS is just as important as the gun itself. Operators test sensors, confirm tracking, verify engagement logic, and make sure the mount can move from standby to kill mode without hesitation. That layered process is what turns a radar-guided gun into a true defensive shield rather than just a deck weapon. On carriers and large deck ships, other systems such as the rolling airframe missile add another quick reaction layer, giving the ship a fast anti-air and anti-missile option for threats that slip past the outer ring. In the live fire footage from Carl Vinson and Ronald Reagan, that layered logic becomes visible. Missiles for range, automatic guns for emergencies, and crews constantly drilling, so a sudden aerial attack never finds the ship unprepared or slow to respond when seconds matter most at sea. But weapons alone are never enough, because a ship cannot shoot what it cannot find. That is why the next layer of defense begins in the air, with surveillance, tracking, and coordinated interception. The E-2D Advanced Hawkeye is central to that effort. It is a 5-crew-member carrier aircraft with a 24-foot radar rotodome, built not just to watch the sky, but to manage the battle around the fleet. In practical terms, it pushes the ship's eyes far beyond the horizon, letting commanders see contacts earlier, classify them faster, and pass targeting information across the strike group before a drone or hostile aircraft gets close enough to launch. The Navy has described the E-2D as a major leap in capability, with significantly increased detection range and far better battle management. That matters enormously in a drone threat environment, because extra warning time can mean the difference between a clean intercept and a desperate close-range defense. Once a threat is detected, fighters become the fleet's moving shield. Footage of aircraft launching from USS Nimitz shows how that response unfolds. Deck crews clear, catapults fire, and fighters are thrown into the air to extend the carrier's defensive perimeter. Instead of waiting for every threat to come to the ship sends force outward. That changes the geometry of defense completely. An intercept far from the carrier group is always better than a missile engagement near the formation. Electronic warfare adds another layer. The EA-18G Growler can jam, disrupt, and confuse enemy systems, making it harder for hostile aircraft, missiles, or drone networks to find, coordinate, and strike effectively. That means defense is not only about shooting. It is also about breaking the enemy's ability to sense and communicate. Even older platforms still contribute. In the provided marine footage, AV-8B Harriers are shown loading and launching air-to-air missiles, a reminder that fleet defense can draw on every available aviation asset when threat conditions demand it. So, the picture widens from the ship itself to an entire aerial screen. Hawkeyes watching, fighters launching, growlers jamming, and armed aircraft moving outward. By the time a drone reaches visual range of the ship, the Navy wants that threat to have already been tracked, challenged, disrupted, or destroyed well beyond the horizon. That early warning function also helps ships conserve missiles, assign interceptors efficiently, and avoid shooting blindly at every radar contact in a crowded battle space afar. But not every threat appears far away. Some dangers emerge in close proximity, where reaction time collapses, and the crew has to defend the ship with direct fire. This is the world of .50 caliber machine guns, precision shooters, Marines on watch, and medium caliber deck weapons aimed at small boats, low-slow drones, and suspicious craft closing inside the outer defensive ring. The .50 caliber remains important because it is simple, reliable, and fast to bring into action. In live fire drills, sailors train to track moving targets over the water, control bursts, and keep fire disciplined even as the ship itself moves. That matters because close threats are rarely neat. A small boat can weave, spray can hide its wake, and a drone at short range can appear with little warning. The machine gun is therefore less about elegance and more about immediate response. Precision shooting adds another tool. Scout, sniper, and designated marksman training at sea shows how Marines prepare to engage exposed personnel, fast, small targets, or threats riding low in cluttered maritime backgrounds. Their role is not to replace shipboard guns, but to fill gaps where accuracy and judgment matter more than volume of fire. This same logic appears during amphibious task force defense rehearsals. Marines aboard ships, such as USS Green Bay, practice protecting the formation from incoming threats that may arrive by small boat or close approach. The procedure is layered even here. Identify, challenge, position weapons, and if the threat keeps closing, engage before it reaches a dangerous distance. The Mk-38 gun system expands that close defense envelope. In live fire footage aboard USS America and USS Ronald Reagan, the weapon is used as a stabilized, remotely operated answer to surface threats that are too dangerous for small arms alone, but too close for larger missile systems to be efficient.
Boarding shot ineffective, issuing destructive fire.
This is the uncomfortable middle zone of naval defense, where the ship must defeat threats almost on top of itself. And that is why close-in protection matters so much. If aerial surveillance and outer layer missiles fail to stop a threat early, sailors and Marines still have to finish the fight at the rail, with eyes on target and almost no room for hesitation. Against swarming boats or suddenly appearing drones, those seconds are everything, and the crew's calm weapon handling often becomes the final barrier between warning and damage during chaotic close-range shipboard defense scenarios. The final layer of ship defense lies below the surface, where the threat is no less dangerous simply because it is harder to see. Submarines and torpedoes force warships to think in 3 dimensions, and that is why underwater defense is built into destroyers as carefully as air defense is built above deck. A guided missile destroyer is not just an anti-air platform. The Navy describes the DDG-51 class as a multi-mission combatant built for anti-air, anti-submarine, and anti-surface warfare, and that multi-mission identity becomes clear once the focus shifts underwater. The process of defending a U.S. Navy ship against underwater threats begins with detection. Sonar systems search for contacts, classify sounds, and help crews distinguish a submarine threat from the endless noise of the sea. That is slower and less dramatic than a missile launch, but it is no less critical. If a submarine gets close enough to attack without already being tracked, the ship's problems multiply immediately. Once a hostile contact is identified, destroyers can answer with torpedo launchers and anti-submarine weapons. In Valiant Shield 2014 and USS Chancellorsville Torpex footage, deck crews work through the deliberate procedures that precede launch: preparation, targeting, system checks, and final release. It is a reminder that anti-submarine warfare is often methodical right up until the moment it becomes lethal. Torpedoes are not warning shots. They are direct answers to a submerged threat that may already be maneuvering for an attack. The Mk-41 VLS also contributes here through the vertical launch ASROC, giving surface combatants a 360-degree standoff anti-submarine weapon. That matters because underwater threats do not always allow the ship to close distance safely before responding. Other deck weapons still play a role during live-fire exercises, reinforcing the destroyer's identity as a ship built to fight in every direction at once. And that completes the naval defensive picture. Drones and aircraft are tracked, jammed, intercepted, and shot down. Small boats and close threats are met with machine guns and deck guns. Submarines are hunted below the surface with sonar and torpedoes. The scary part about modern drone warfare is not that it replaces older threats. It joins them. That is why the US Navy defends its warships with layers, because at sea, danger can come from above, beside, or below at exactly the same time. That's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our new content. See you next time.